All right. Okay, so you may have noticed that it has started to get a bit hot outside, especially last week. I lucked out because I was on vacation for most of that heat wave, but some of you may have noticed some of your plants after sitting out in the 96-degree heat for 4 or 5 hours, they're starting to wilt or getting scorch on their leaves, things like that. So first thing to mention, some species can handle the heat a little bit better than others, right? So this is not, there are some species that grow in really hot, warm, sunny climates, and some that are more used to more being like understory trees or come from a little colder regions. So we can go over a little bit of that today. Some of the ones that are less bothered by 90+ degree temps are many pines, junipers, trident maples, ficus, other tropicals. But even for those, when temps get above 95, and especially when they're over 100 or getting close to 100, even those could use some extra care to help prevent especially the pots from overheating, and then they're baking in that sun. If you have like a nice dark pot, that's going to really get hot. So the hotter it is, the more kind of tips and tricks and preventative measures you need to take to keep your trees from overheating, both the roots and the tops. First thing is going to be shade cloth. So this is a really good tool to cut down on the intensity of the sun. This is a picture of my growing area for like most of my deciduous trees. Usually you want to have that shade cloth up about, 10 feet in the air or something like that to have some good wind movement below that shade cloth, get some air through there. But even before I had this set up, I just had like, a single maybe 6 or 8 foot bench, and I nailed some 2x4s to the side of it, and then I kind of just draped a shade cloth over that, and that did okay for a couple years, shading at least a couple of the more vulnerable trees. So I use a 40% shade cloth. Who else uses shade cloth out here? What percentage do you use, Brian?
30 on most of my deciduous, and like a 40, well, it's probably deteriorated now, but like a 40 on my Japanese maples and other things that are a little more sensitive.
David, what do you got?
On my pines that are under shade, the small ones, and then 40 on the deciduous.
30 for pines, 40 for deciduous. What do you use?
I built a shelter with wood lattice on the back and the top, and then when the sun set, I had to put a shower curtain shade cloth up, and it's 40%.
40%?
For that sunset quick cooking.
Who else?
What
Yeah?
would you say a burlap bag would be?
A burlap bag?
Burlap bag.
That would probably be 95% shade cloth. Who else? Anyone else have shade cloth? Ida?
I'm using 40 and 50.
40 and 50? Yeah, and I think there's some people who, I heard somewhere, I think the National Arboretum they said they used to use like a 30 or 40, and in the last 2 or 3 years they upped it to a 50 on a lot of their stuff. I don't know, probably with climate change, things are getting a little hotter as far as where we stand. So
On the really hot days, you can just put up your table umbrella if you have to
Sure.
to keep it. And they actually sell individual umbrellas on Amazon for plants. I don't know how you'd attach it to a bonsai, but they do. They have these individual ones.
yeah, I would love to see a picture of someone's yard with like 50 trees, individual umbrellas. Okay, all right. Okay, a lot of people use like a lower percentage for some like pines and conifers, and a higher percentage for a lot of deciduous things, which tend to be a little bit more understory trees. So here's like a sort of what those shade cloths look like. You can get them in different colors. I like to get either a white or I think it's called aluminette, which is like an aluminum reflective, but this is what it looks like in black. So I think most people are using somewhere in here for more of their things. And here are some online options. I'm gonna post this presentation on Discord, so you'll have the links to it. I've ordered from Greenhouse Megastore a couple times. They have good stuff. You can get them that have like the grommets in them, the little holes, so you can tie them or hook them to your deck or wherever. You can buy them pre-made, or they have certain sizes where they have in stock and some that you have to custom order. It takes like 6 weeks or something. But at least for next year. Okay, another tip you can use, and Mike Perkins was just posting about this today in Discord. You can use little gravel beds or humidity trays, especially for smaller pots. This both helps because the plants will grow roots down into these humidity trays and, sort of, I don't know, give you an extra couple hours if you're, let's say you have to work from 9 to 5 and it's going to be really hot, maybe that'll be like the extra time you need for those plants to be able to stay hydrated during that time. It also kind of helps shade and keep cool like the bottom of those pots, and especially those small pots that have, really like small volumes and they're getting a lot of sun on them, so they can really heat up pretty quickly. So that's another thing you can do. You can also wrap, especially if you have any pots that are sitting in more full sun, you can wrap them with aluminum foil or an old undershirt or a t-shirt or a white towel or something like that. So that'll keep kind of that pot surface cool. Next point to mention is during these high heat waves, avoid doing stressful work on your trees. You really want to avoid wiring, trunk chops, heavy pruning, repots of
trees are stressful on us.
both, I guess. Yeah, you want to avoid high doses of fertilizer on your trees, like a low dose of fertilizer, like an organic or some like 333 or something is probably fine. But those heavy doses of high Miracle Grow that have lots and lots of salt, it actually can make it harder for the tree to take up more water. So go either little to no fertilizer during those really hot days. Let's say you worked a tree, 2 weeks ago, and you didn't know that a heat wave was coming, a week or 10 days later. You have the 10-day forecast. So on day 11, there was a heat wave coming. So you have this tree that you just wired out. You want to protect that a little extra, put that in the shade, or even put that maybe inside for the day if it's going to be super hot or something like that. Just give them a little extra protection from the heat. Or if you recently repotted a tropical tree like a ficus or a pomegranate or one of the ones Bill's going to talk about, give that a little bit of shade until the really high heat passes. Probably about, I'd say, after about 3 or 4 weeks or so, it's probably okay to, put it back out with your regular trees. But if it's recently repotted, give it a little extra protection. All right, so when you get to these really extreme temps, like 100 degrees plus, if you can't check on your trees about every 4 hours or so, not many people, have this luxury. Some people work from home or are retired, and we'll get to that in a second. If you can't check on them, some things you can do: move your trees to shadier spots. You can even move them under your benches or under tables or under your deck or something like that, just for 24 or 48 hours. That's totally fine for a tree to be in shade. I mean, we show trees at exhibitions for 2 or 3 days, and then, that's fine. They're obviously in full shade there. So 2 or 3 days in full shade is not a problem for trees. You want to definitely thoroughly soak your trees and the surrounding area before leaving for work or going wherever you need to go. So when you kind of soak the bench and the gravel and everything, that'll keep the whole area humid and a little bit cooler for a little bit longer. Use all those tips from the last few slides. If you've got shade cloth, utilize that. Humidity trays, set a few of those up. Wrap those pots that are going to be in more sun. So if you can check on your trees several times throughout the day, say every 3 hours or so, it's okay to water early and often. It's okay to overwater during a heat wave. You've got 100-degree temps. You can water 3 or 4 times that day. That's totally fine. You're not going to cause root rot just from, a 3 or 4 day period where it's really, really hot. That comes from like prolonged several weeks of overwatering and keeping the soil too moist. You want to also wet the entire area around your trees, benches, gravel, all that stuff, extra humidity. And let's say you water at 7 a.m. and you go and check the trees at 10 a.m. and it's starting to get hot. The soil is still wet. So what you can still do is you can use your hose to wet the pots and wet the foliage and wet the area around the trees, keeping humidity up. But you might not water the soil at 10. You might wait till noon or something to water the soil. So that's something you can do to keep the heat down, and that'll just help cool all those surfaces.
Leaves all day too? I thought you weren't supposed to water the green, the leaves.
I do during a heat wave,
Burn
yeah.
them or something like that, like the sun, direct sun.
No,
Imagine that's wrong.
that's been kind of debunked.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can totally. I water the foliage when it's really hot. I typically don't after like 5 p.m. or something. I'll try not to water the foliage, but early on in the day, I'll definitely do it. Let's see. Is this our last slide? I think this is our last slide. Okay. Anyone have any questions about bonsai in the heat? No? We're all good? All right, so Bill is going to tell us about what we can do with some tropical trees.
Okay, I'm Bill Kraus, if you haven't met me yet. I'm going to modify what Mike said just a little bit. Your tropical trees, this is the prime time to work on them because this is when they're growing like a weed. So any of your ficuses, my bush cherry is growing out of control, and I also have a needle plum. They're growing like mad. Now's the time to deal with them. Now's the time to repot them also. So even though everything else you don't repot right now, but the needle, most of your tropicals you can repot right now. What I will say is, as far as your evergreens, I actually take my fertilizer off. I don't do any fertilizing right now. If you are on a regimen for insecticide and fungicide, most of them do not like temperatures above 90, 95. So you don't spray it unless it's early in the morning or late at night. So it has time for it to dry before you do it. Your deciduouses, the tri-maples are still growing. There are a few. My elms are still growing right now. And when they're still growing, when they get out to about 600 nodes, then I cut them back to a pair. And I still do that this time of the year. But my maples, they'll stop. They just flat stop. A lot of the other deciduouses, they'll stop. And don't waste fertilizer on them because they're not going to take it up. They go dormant. If you have young, immature trees, they might still grow. If they're still growing, you can feed them. With tropicals, there's 3 things to do with tropicals right now. The first one is trim. So this is an example of a trimming. This is what it was before I started trimming. It was like that all the way across. So what I wanted to do was trim it so that the tree stays within the profile I was looking for. I wanted this to be wider, so I didn't trim the bottom at all because I wanted to go wider. But the top was really good and strong. So the last thing I need to do after I trim the rest of this, I left that on there just so you can see how tall it was, is you look at the top and go, where's it really thick? Wherever it's really thick, you just go in and you thin it out so you can get some more air flowing in there. So I'll look from the top and go, it's really thick right here. So I'll go in there, I'll just cut out that, cut out something, and you can't even really tell I cut it. That's how thick it was. I cut it from right here. And so that's the last thing I do when I'm done trimming. So, yes?
When you are done trimming and the practice is bleeding, do you hose it off with water?
No.
Stop the
No.
No?
No. They're going to bleed a white latex, and you're going to get them on your scissors The best way to get it off is with alcohol. It'll take it right off. Cotton ball and alcohol. Because if not, you're like trying to use your scissors and they're all glued up. So, but no, I do not wash them off. You can, but I don't. I just let it dry and I'll seal that cut. And these will root. Anything you cut off will root. And you just have to stick it in some sand or even some smaller bonsai soil. Yeah, Mark?
You let the dry, the sap.
No, normally I let it dry. Normally I let it dry first, but if it doesn't get a lot of latex out of it, I just stick in you get so many of these. I have a little tub. You just stick them in, and sometimes I say put them in a bag, put them in the refrigerator overnight, and then do it. But I had a whole bunch I brought and forgot to bring them. But any other questions about trimming? Yes.
Yeah, so in terms of repotting, like ficus,
Yes.
Do you have a favorite soil to use? Do you use like a standard sand? Do you use oaky mix?
No, I do not have something specific for these. I have a whole bunch of Shohin soil. So I use that on everything because I've got 30, 40 bags that I bought from Cass when they closed down.
Concrete pavement would probably work too.
I'm sorry?
Throw them on the driveway and they'll probably find a way to root those.
They will. They will. They're very good. Okay, the second thing that you can do right now is defoliate. And with defoliation, what I do, I left this on here to show you how tall it was, is I go down to the last pair, which is right here, and then I just cut it off.
What is that?
This is a banyan ficus. I cut it off, and then if you're going to root these, you cut off half of that one, and then you just stick it in the soil, and that thing will root. You know, it probably will root with the leaves. I mean, that's how hard they are. And then once I get all of them done like this, then I kind of look, I say, what's crossing? If something's crossing, then I'll cut that back, or if this is too tall, I can cut it back, and you can cut it up pretty hard because it will back bud. That's pretty much the way I do. I cut it down to, especially if it's in training, you're not as worried about getting your form right. You're just worried about getting more ramification. So I cut it back to a pair. And then,
Wire them now too.
yeah, wiring now is good. Is good. And then when you're done, you look and you say, well, see how these are kind of together? I want to open that up, so I just get rid of this one in here. And if they're too long, I cut them back to here. And I mean, it's just, they're very, very friendly, user-friendly. So that's defoliation. If you wanted to restructure, this one is supposed to be Shohin. This is what it has to be, shorter than that. This was like right here. So I cut it back, so it's Shohin. I did this 10 days ago, and if you look, I already have buds, 10 days, and it's back budding all the way down. It's like 10 days, that's all it took with the heat.
Put them in the high heat after you.
Yes, you can pass this around. Pass around. Yeah, I put them right back in the high heat. That's the good thing about defoliating is you don't have to worry about sunburn with them. Yes.
If you repotted like mid-spring, early spring, how?
It's hot right now. Right now, you wait until it's in the 80s and 90s to repot, especially ficuses. I've repotted my brush cherry this hot, and I've redone my natal poem. But once I start getting outside that, some of the other weird ones, I go to the internet and see what they say.
I meant like if we did repot during spring this year, can you defoliate right now?
Is it healthy?
It's very, it's right over there.
Yep.
It's extremely
Yeah, you can defoliate. And same thing with your tried maples I talked about last month. If you didn't do it last month, you can still do it this month because they'll come right back. I did some 10 days ago, and you can't even tell I did it already because they've already come back. So.
But you wouldn't repot that one?
No, when I defoliate, I normally don't repot. I usually leave leaves on if I'm going to repot. Some people say defoliate and repot. I've never done that, so I'm not going to tell you to do that. But some people do. Some people do it that way, and I just think it's too much risk.
how about air layer?
Air layer is great time. I actually usually start an air layer a little earlier to give it more time, but they root so fast, it probably is not too late to do an air layer. Everybody know what an air layer is? Basically what you do is you take like this branch right here, and you'll remove a section of bark, so you're down to the cambium layer that is twice the distance of the width. So if this is an inch, you want 2 inches of open space. Then you pack it with sphagnum moss. And with these things, you don't even need to put rooting hormone around it. But if it's some other tree, you need to put rooting hormone around it. Yeah, you with a plastic baggie, you put the sphagnum moss in it, tie it off, and then you water it. And it will form roots in no time. So yeah, it's not a bad time to do that, Mark.
4 weeks?
I'm sorry?
How long?
Not long for tropicals. If it's probably late to start your junipers, because you won't have enough roots come springtime or fall time to cut it off. So you'll have to keep it with the packing for another season, and that's kind of hard to keep from freezing in the winter. But if you got deciduous, you can do that and keep it, because I keep mine in my garage. So if I start a deciduous now, and it won't be ready to cut off in the fall, so I'll just keep the air layer on there till spring. The other thing you can do right now is restructure. And this had 2 huge side branches, and then this was the smallest of the 3, and they were all the same level. So in the fall of 24, I cut the 2 big ones off. I stuck them in a bag like this, and I kept them during the winter, and then they're here. This one and this one were the branches that cut off. So what happened with this one was it got stressed in the winter because I left it for a while unwatered and because of a family emergency, and the 2 middle ones died. So when I repotted, I pushed these back together, took these from this tree here, and then it looks great. I mean now, but that's what I do when I have to cut big stuff off. I'll air layer it, and then now I wasn't done. It was still it was here. This was the front, and this thing right here, this big thing was on it, and that was the top. And it was kind of a shohin, but still just didn't look right. So I cut that off, and that's air layer. I mean, that thing's this big, and it's rooting now. And I did that 2 weeks ago, and if it's going to die, it would have already died. So I took a branch and moved that forward, and now my new leader's right here. I left that on there as a sacrifice so that it'll thicken that up so it doesn't look so abnormal. And I moved the front from here to here. So now I got my right branch, my left branch, and I got this thing leaning forward. So you got the bonsai hug, and so patience. Bonsai is a patient thing. So I've been doing this. I've been fixing it since the fall of 24, and by next year, this new leader will start forming, and I'll cut this off, and probably make a new tree out of that one. And now it's shohin. But this started as we did a ficus class back in 95, and I was the last one to sign up for it, so I got the last tree, and it was crappy. And the instructor was Mary Madison. She's an expert from Florida. She looked at it and said, I would air layer the top out and throw the rest away. So that's what I did. I air layered the top out of it when it was probably twice as big as that, and I've had it since 95. And you just keep working on it, keep working away. So this is restructuring, and now's a great time to do restructuring because they just recover so quickly. Any other questions about tropicals? Yes?
On the willow leaf ficuses, how moist do you keep them?
I keep them pretty moist, probably more than most of you guys would do. The one thing I want to mention was your weather is more than just heat. Because if it's dry and breezy, that's a problem. Today is pretty dry. And when it's breezy and dry, your trees really dry out. Last Monday when it was hot and humid, mine didn't dry out hardly at all. So I only had to water them once. So I panic when it's 85 to 90 and dry and kind of breezy, because that dries your trees out, because all these leaves are transpiring. And so that really makes me nervous. And I'll get out there and I'll mist. I put, you got one of those faucets, got the mist and stream and jet, and I just go to mist. I mist, and usually my soil not drying out, but if you mist them a couple times a day, that usually helps prevent them going shock. But I walk the dog, do this, and then at 10 o'clock I looked at my trees, and half my tridents were like this. And so, 10 o'clock, come on. It was that dry that by 10 o'clock I was panicking. And they came right back as soon as I watered them. But if I would have, waited till noon, that would have been bad. So, any other questions?
You've got a lot of roots in really small pots,
Yes.
so I guess they like it.
Yeah, they don't mind it. Now, I will say, at least with my ficuses, that you really need to repot them every 2 years, 3 years at max. Because what happens is they'll get confined and then they'll start swelling. And especially this thing does that. I've cut roots off like this thick in here because they'll just start swelling up because they were draining. Usually if they drain, they take water and they drain, you go, they don't need to be repotted because potting soil is expensive, so I'm not going to do it. And then I repotted it and I had huge roots. So if you don't mind cutting big roots off, then don't worry about it. But to me, it kind of bothers me a little bit cutting big roots off. But with the nerfolias, they will root with nothing. So you can cut them really hard and they'll just come right back. Cut off big roots and not a problem.
Hey Bill, so whenever you do repot those things and you take all the soil off the roots and just cut them back?
Most of it. I'll take most of it off these because they're just so hardy. They're really hardy.
Certain plants, you can only do half at a time or whatever.
Not these. Not these, they don't care.
Conifers.
Yeah. The conifers and some of my deciduous are like, they're picky on how much you cut off. But these aren't. At least the ones I deal with, I don't. All these right here, I cut, I wash them, I cut them pretty hard. Yes?
When you say repotting, do you mean you just have to go in a different pot, or you just clean it out, put new soil in, and you can put it right back?
If I like the pot, I put it back in the same pot. If I don't like the pot, that's the time to change pots. I just ordered a new pot for this one because the trunks got so big. This is kind of pushing the size of what the, yeah. No, these are tissue samples, tissue cultures, which means some fancy biologist, they take this thing and they take a cutting about that big, a circle out of the leaves, and they put in this special super secret gel, and then they start rooting out and then they'll grow up. That's called a tissue culture. There's another word for it.
Have you had any success with grafting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not these, I've never tried because I never needed to.
Yeah.
But I've grafted junipers, have not done pines.
No pines.
But these normally don't need it because you cut them hard, they'll back bud right where you want them.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing, if you look at that tree, there's buds all over it. When they start to come out, if you rub off the ones you know you're not going to use, it's better then than to wait till they grow, then you have to cut them off and now you got a scar. So if you can keep up with it, go ahead and rub off the ones you don't want and then leave the ones you want that are in the right place, and then you won't have the scars. Yes?
So when you defoliated that, there were several leaves that you left on there.
Yes. That branch I wanted to grow, so I didn't defoliate that branch. It's the same thing with pines. You see pines, and a lot of people say you got to decandle, you got to decandle. Well, you also kind of got to look at the tree and go, where's that branch supposed to go? If I need a longer branch there, then decandling it's not going to help. You need to let that branch grow. But with that one, I got a lower branch that I want to get thicker because it's lower, and you don't want your upper branches to be thicker than the lower branches. So I left that one with leaves on it, and hopefully it will grow. Now, one thing I will say, if you defoliate, I did this the first time I defoliated. If you look on these things, there's a little growth thing here at the end. If you don't cut that off, then what this end tip does, it produces a hormone that tells all the other buds that, hey, I'm growing, don't grow. So even if you trim, when I trim this, I trimmed every branch, so I cut off that last growth. So he's not sending don't grow hormones back to the rest of them. Once you cut that one off, they panic and they go, oh, we better grow. And then you'll start growing all the way down the thing. So I forgot to tell you that. Right. Yeah. So I learned the hard way that if you're going to defoliate, you got to at least cut the tips off. Even if it's just a little bit. If it's the right length, you just cut the very end off, and it will allow all the buds back here to start growing. I forgot to tell you that. What else? What other questions?
You can remove all the leaves entirely if you don't want.
Yeah. That's what I did on that one and this one. I'm going to remove all these. I just wanted to show you how tall it was before I started. But yeah, you move them all. You don't have to leave any.
What do you do with your tropicals in the winter?
Yeah, I got to put in my bathroom. I've got a bathroom that my wife allows me to monopolize in. And I got a big grow light over top of it. And I got some downstairs in the basement, but it stays around 60 degrees down there. They don't do well down there. And yeah, I shower in there. And it gets nice and steamy. We have a big, huge bathtub that takes like 20 gallons to fill up. So we don't use it because by the time it fills up, the water's cold. And so I put a table in it. And I put
You play jungle music too while you're in there?
No. And I got a huge 8 light system over the top of it, and I got a fan on it so that it blows, and I basically monopolize the bathroom. And no, it's not in the shower, it's over the tub. The shower just adds humidity to the room. And then I put fans on it. I got a fan on it.
Do you ever do like that work in the spring also?
No.
Okay.
I've never tried it. You probably could, but you just...
Like when you first bring them out?
They probably wouldn't recover as fast. They probably would recover, but I just don't think they recover in 10 days like that one
They
did.
won't recover until not.
Yeah, until it gets warm.
Yeah. I don't know what's that then.
Some people have, like I said, I've never tried it because I just know how quickly they recover in July. And all my instructors that taught me about tropical said, yeah, don't touch them until July. And boy, they go wild in July. These things doubled in 3 days. They just went nuts. And before that, they were just sitting there the whole time, all through June. They looked good, but they didn't grow. And then June hit and boom, explosion.
I will say to people who are scared to overwinter tropicals, I have a whole bunch of them. You can buy a $30 greenhouse off Amazon if you have room for a 2x2 by 5 foot greenhouse, and $20 LED lights, and they survive. And mine thrive. They grow great all winter long in my basement.
Yeah, these do good in mine because my bathroom doesn't get below 85 degrees.
I don't shower with them, but they're...
I don't shower with them. I just shower in the same room.
Sinks to them.
I got a comment. If you do overrun them with the lights, you have to give them at least, I leave my lights on all the time, I give them 1 day off where it's dark for some reason.
I turn mine off at night.
Yeah, I do.
You don't have to.
I don't have any lights.
I know people did have the same thing. No lights.
But they
They
do
do
need dark.
very well in the winter, but in the spring, when you put them outside, they go, oh, finally, and they catch up. So,
Any other questions? Yeah, the heat, when it's dry and breezy, check your trees. Check your trees. Even these things, you need to check your trees. Because dry and breezy is not good.
On these narrow foliages too, if you cut off a piece of the root
and you leave some of the finer roots in and you plant it, it'll sprout up from there.
I've tried that a couple times and I've only had it work once, but
Yeah, they don't always do it.
I know people that swear by that. They say all the time. You cut off a big root, you can root it. Yes.
So what you're saying is that you don't check the soil with your finger for the humidity, just go ahead and water it when it's hot,
At this time of the year, I just water
several times a day.
several times a day. Yeah, it's these things you can keep them pretty wet. They're not like your deciduous that they root rot really fast, or your azaleas and stuff. They don't seem to root rot very fast.
Now you have them all in Akadams,
Yes,
the little stuff.
I have the little stuff because I got a ton of it.
Yeah.
I have some of the stuff I have in a little bit bigger stuff, but most of it's in little stuff. And it's supposed to help the roots split a little bit more, but it also keeps them wetter. Because there's a lot more airspace in there for them to suck up the water. So they will stay wetter.
But they definitely split, because when I first started, I didn't have Akadama, and I used other stuff. And the minute I put Akadama in, all of a sudden everything was just like slow down.
Any other questions?
Are indoor and outdoor ficus, you treat those the same as far as defoliating and everything, and they recover the same?
I take them all outside, so I don't keep anything inside. I would assume because of the amount of sunlight they're not getting, that it would be much slower to recover. They won't recover in 10 days.
The leaves are getting so big on the ones inside too, also.
Yeah,
Take those off and they'll recover eventually, not as fast.
yeah, because most of our houses have energy efficient windows now, and so they block out a lot of the lights that these things love, the type of light that they love, the growing lights. So
Indoors, you're gonna get longer internodes.
yeah, longer internodes.
I'd take them outside in the summer if I were you.
That's what I do.
So right now, if I have them inside, they've been inside for a couple of years, outside, I'm not gonna burn them up.
Yeah, you'll burn them up. They'll burn up. But what I would do is I would defoliate it and take it outside. Just defoliate it.
Next year.
I defoliate and take it outside because you're going to burn up the leaves because they've been exposed to, like 1/10 of what sunlight is. So
But you'll get nice new
Yeah.
leaves too.
But when they come back, it's gonna look good.
yeah,
Yeah.
you'll get a lot. What kind of ficus is it? Yeah, yeah. If you've had it inside and take it outside, unless you do the shade, deep shade, medium shade, unless you walk it through to get to full sun.
I have a gazebo I could put under for.
But I would just defoliate it and take it outside, and it would start growing. If it dies, I'll give you another tree. I got a couple I can get rid of. Yes, Mark?
You know, with I think he's thinking of Benjamini practice. Benjamini practice, if you move, they get upset and they drop all the.
So do these.
Can you answer that?
Yeah. These, if you move them from inside to outside, they drop their leaves. If you move them from outside to inside, they drop their leaves. If you get a cold front that comes through, they'll drop their leaves. And the key to understand with these, if they still got a little red tip, they're not dead. So don't throw them out because they will come back. Even in a house, they'll come back. As long as they got a little red tip on the end where the bud is, they'll come back. Yes?
Do you have any tips for trimming a bougainvillea?
I'm not a big bougainvillea guy. Anybody else expert on bougainvillea?
It grows horizontally.
Horizontally?
Yeah, if you want flowers. And watch out, they get some pretty darn big thorns.
What was your question?
Trimming a bougainvillea, just a method to it.
Yeah, I cut mine back
Hard.
hard,
Alright,
and it cut flowers on the new growth.
yeah.
Probably this time of year is
Yeah.
probably good for getting it back.
Yeah, I have one, and I cut it back hard, and I cut it back for like 2 nodes, and it's growing like crazy in the sun, so. kind of like Mike is saying.
If you want it to flower, then don't water it unless it's drooping in the morning.
Yeah, it's not gonna flower this year. I recovered it. It was like really bad, and it's in a new pot this year. I don't think it'll flower anyways, but just for next year.
Well, you never know. They flower a lot.
I had a bougainvillea, but I didn't have it warm enough in the winter. It just kind of croaked on me.
It was inside for like 4 years and just didn't let grow, and then I actually cared all of a sudden. So.
Joel?
I've got a gardenia that I've had over 50 years. And it spends the winter in the house and goes, most years it gets down to about 2 or 3 leaves. And I put everything out when the temperature at night gets above 40. So if the temperatures stay above 40 at night for a couple of days, everything goes out. The gardenia goes out in full sun. The few leaves that are left fall off, puts out all new leaves. And I've had it over 50 years. So they're tougher than you think they are.
Yeah,
Never give up on tropical.
true. Never give up on them. Yeah, I had one.
I really don't like a lot of water.
Okay.
Yeah, like, if you're watering everything else once a day or twice a day, you might want to water them every other day or something like that. They are stronger when they have no water.
Okay.
You can cut them back pretty hard and they will back bud, and
Thank
they're
you.
just fine.
Yeah, it's not my specialty, so I usually will let somebody else with more experience talk about that. Anything else? These are great questions.
All right, thanks, Bill.
There's 3 of them together here, and I put the straw in there with them, and then just everyday sand, and you can just scoop it in that little hole, and every time you water, just make sure that sand gets wet, and those roots will continue to grow. If they don't, they'll look like these here, kind of dry, and I don't like them this tall anyway, so I usually will just pull those off. But when they're lower, like down here, I kind of like the growth of them down here. So by putting a little straw in there and filling it up with sand, then they will just swell up and they'll start looking like this. Sorry, I forgot.